And welcome back to part 4 of What if Midoriya had a present mic like Quirk, otherwise known as Echo Chamber. Last time, we did have a very big change happen in the story. First off, Midoriya is not getting one for all in this version. So it's not, that's a big change in the story already. But for the first time in the stories we've been telling with My Hero, we did lose Ida to Stain. There was just no scenario that happened here where someone was available to rescue Ida in time before he was killed by Stain. And so that came to a head, particularly in the graduation exam not graduation, but finals exam, where Bakugo kind of finally let it out on Midoriya and just kind of explained why he is so angry about the situation. That somehow, because it's Bakugo and he thinks the world revolves around him, he blames himself. He thinks he could have saved Ida if he had been there, but he wasn't. And so, really, the training arc after that went about the same. Midoriya got more grasp on his power, got insanely effed up by Muscular, more so here than before, but his quirk allowed him to pretty much just rupture Muscular's eardrums and knock him out, basically, just concuss him. And just bonk. If he's not dead, he's in a good state. He's in like a paralytic state. And then the all for one fight, that would go the same as well. Rescuing Bakugo can't really happen in the same way. Though I'm sure maybe it still kind of happens. Just minus Ida not being there. And so we would catch up after the fact. Now, Midoriya and the gang would be busy perfecting their signature moves. Now with Midoriya, a signature move like his, it'd be similar. One similar move would be similar to Present Mike's just big loud voice attack. But beyond that, other things Midoriya has done is actually ask for enhancements to his speakers, to his muter / amplifiers. And furthermore, he's actually got amplifiers now lining more of his outfit, particularly the backs of his outfit. Why? Because he can only scream out one way. And in the few times he's actually challenged Bakugo, he's noted that someone like Bakugo has the edge when they're capable of moving around. Midoriya can only move around so much. But if he's wearing a suit and he's able to basically amplify his entire sound system all around him, he's basically got a protective dome of sound. And so he's practicing that. He's probably got something, I think, as someone said, kind of a thing in his hero mask he still carries that, the mask right there, that's similar to Shinso's, that allows him to kind of manipulate the shape of the sound, so he can expand it to a massive boom burst, or he can compress it down to more of a finite sonic just drill, if you will. So he's got that going for his suit as well. And it's him practicing with that for most of the short time we're in the signature move course. But then the visionary license exam happens. Now, this would be somewhat different. Now, obviously, Toga's still got a thing for Deku. She saw him all messed up, so I think that is still legitimate. But when the exam actually happens, beep, and the balls start getting thrown, Midoriya does get tagged at least once by Toga with one of the balls. But when Toga tries to come around the second time, he just like, Bob! Just echo chambers around him a little bit. Bah! It's just a quick, bah! But it's enough to throw her off. He's able to find her. He's like, got you! And just is able to almost not knock her out, but will knock her out in terms of getting her eliminated. Is almost able to eliminate her, essentially. Anytime balls are thrown at him, he's able to, and just, blast them away with his voice. So I think he wouldn't have that big of a problem passing the exam here. And with Toga, it's still like, I wanted to talk to you more. Bye. So there's that. Then when it comes to the rescue part of the exam, his quirk really isn't good for rescuing. I mean, at best he could clear some debris, but maybe if things start to fall, maybe he can get in there and just go and blast it away. But otherwise, his quirk isn't the best design. In fact, a lot of their quirks actually aren't really well suited for rescue. If you look at Class 1A, Ida's is good for maybe quickly grabbing people, but not for getting people out of rubble. Bakugo's certainly freaking isn't good for rescuing people. Kirishima's can like protect people, sure, but that's about all it can do. I'm not going to go over everyone. Uraraka's is good though. Momo's is certainly good. I can never remember the guy with the tape quirk, but his quirk's good. Actually, even Minetta's quirk theoretically is good because it's sticky and things stick to it. He can literally keep things in place. But then you get someone like Sugar Rush who just gets stronger from sugar. Yeah, he can. It's similar to Kirishima. He can hold things up, but it's not all that useful. Invisible Girls is not good at all for rescuing. Even Tail Guy's quirk is at least somewhat useful because it can hold things up. So it's a mixed match of whose quirks are good and whose quirks aren't. Shinso, by the way, would be introduced to the hero course at this point. They probably would say, due to the fact that there's a vacancy in Class 1A, and when Aizawa says that, he's like, it's mandatory that the class should has 20 students. By the way, I don't know if that's a rule or not. I doubt it. But for the sake of Shinso was already going to be put in the course anyway, there you go. So they transfer Shinso to Class 1A, and he would be working on whatever signature moves he can. He's obviously using the the binding rope tape, whatever it's called. So he uses that along with his quirk the best he can. Unfortunately, his quirk isn't all that good for his quirk actually sucks for rescues. Because it controls people's minds, but those people are already trying to help, so there's no point. Unless there's a villain attacking and people are in trouble and he can mind control the villain, Shinso's quirk is not good for rescues. But in the end, it still comes down to Shoto, and I never remember that guy with the Gale. I think it's called Gale. Is that the name of the quirk? The wind quirk guy. I can't ever remember his name. Comes down to them getting their asses kicked by Gang Orca. Excuse me. And then Midoriya coming in, but instead of throwing a punch, just and Gang Orca actually hears it coming and actually counters with his own. And so it's a kind of a sonic battle for a little bit. But Gang Orca's ultimately does start to lose out because Midoriya just keeps increasing in decibels. So, but Gang Orca then just kind of moves to the side. And then comes in and almost lays the smackdown to Midoriya, who's trying to catch his breath. And then beep! Damn. And so that's the end of the provisionary license. Let's say preliminary. Provisionary license exam. Now Midoriya would still pass, and unfortunately Bakugo would still fail. But honestly, I don't think you're going. And with All Might again retired now, and Bakugo blaming himself now for that, I don't see Bakugo I don't see him challenging Midoriya here, because in the original, he had figured out that he had got his quirk from All Might, because Midoriya was stupid and told him. For as near top of the class as Midoriya actually is, he doesn't have a lot of common sense a lot of the time. But he didn't do that here. He just has a quirk, and he doesn't even have one for all. So it's interesting to say at least how this plays out, because Bakugo still probably is pissed off that Midoriya got his license and he didn't. And he just probably rages out, but accepts the fate and of all that, and that's that, really. Midoriya's not in trouble, Bakugo's not in trouble, they're not like punished or anything like that, so you would then catch up and say, oh god, why am I yawning so much all of a sudden? You would then catch up to the overhaul arc, which that's what I call it. I think it's called the Shibuya incident or something like that, but the overhaul arc. And you would now have not an issue, you'd have a change here. And that's, what does Midoriya actually do for his internship? Because I believe this wasn't a work study. This was an internship. That was different. The first one was the work study. This is an internship. And it's a good question, because first of all, Mirio, they would still challenge Mirio to a fight. I mean, like, the big three, and Mirio's the one they fight. Now, Mirio here does have one for all. Now, side note, how far along in his training with One for All is he? That's a very good question. He's had it now for a little bit. He's got the body for it. It is probably I could see this an awakened version. I think I said this before, but awakened or strengthened version through One for All's version of permeation is the ability to make something else permeable just by touching it. And to be fair, he can do that. Like if he's holding someone, he can do that. But I'm not talking about holding a person and making them permeable, which he can do. At least I believe he can do that. No, actually, no, he can't do that. I'm sorry, he cannot do that. He can only use it on himself, as far as I know. But what he can do is now make something else permeable. Touch a person, they're now intangible. Unfortunately, they also have the sensation of all that crap going on. But there's also touching the ground and making people just fall through the ground until re-solidifying it and bouncing them back up in the air. There's making a monster permeable, making him sink into the ground, like, and then bouncing him up. Then Mirio with One for All is a almost broken character, a near broken character. The question for Mirio would also be, and I've said usually I would say yes that this would happen. Would he eventually start hearing the voices of one of the other vestiges and start gaining access to their quirks? I normally say yes, because the whole idea was, it wasn't, as far as I can tell, it wasn't the fact that Midoriya was quirkless for the reason that happened. The reason it just happened, I think they even kind of say it's mostly because it's just been building up, and now it's the time. Now, it could be the fact that he was quirkless and that he was the proper host to do that with, but I've always been under the belief that, no, that wasn't actually the requirement. It's just, it happened to build up this far along in the history of One for All. So, which again begs the question, how far along is Mirio because of how hard he trains with his quirk and how hard he'd be training with One for All? No joke, he's probably in the 20 to 30% range already. He's just the better option than Midoriya was, if we're going to be honest. He has a powerful quirk that's only going to get stronger with One for All. And he was already kind of a brick shithouse in many ways. So, I mean, he wasn't like Juggernaut or Colossus, but he was kind of like peak. He was the proper kind of physicality for One for All. And so he is, he and all the group fight each other. Midoriya is still clever enough to hit him and like attack him and catch him off guard. So when he pops up, he just yells, and for all of his Quirk's abilities, I believe he loses the ability to hear sound as well. Mirio Togata. Mirio Togata. Let's see here now. His quirk, I believe the weakness of his quirk is basically just robs him of all his senses. Let's see. Initially, he struggled, although according to Vault's speaking mask can't overlap. While intangible, he has expelling here similar to because he still has mass. Furthermore, everything passes through him, including light, sound, and air, meaning he can't see, hear, or breathe while his quirk is active. So yeah, Midoriya's quirk won't do a damn thing against him unless he's basically unless he's not, his quirk's not active. So Midoriya aims where he's going to basically be and just go, wah! And then when he pops out of the ground and solidifies, which he would have to do at least once, he gets, his ears suddenly almost burst, like, and he just has to go and permeation him, but unfortunately he tags Midoriya. And Midoriya's not going to win, but he's impressed by Midoriya. And he even says, you were the first guy in a long time to ever nail me on that. Now. I stuttered on that, but I'm just making that part of that scene. Now, sorry, I'm a little scrambled after that. Whoa. You know what? I bet Night I would love you. You guys are doing the internship. Sure. Okay, you could come to my agency. I was like, really? And no, he was All Might's sidekick. That's right. And so he goes there, and the difference here is just very clear. Night Eye and All Might are on better terms now. They haven't completely reconciled, I don't think, but I think they are on the path to reconciliation, especially because Mirio was his pick. They've been talking about it. They probably even shared some laughs, and then maybe it's like, why don't we get lunch, you and me, sometime afterwards? I'd like that, All Might. So despite his more glum attitude, he's actually probably a lot more chipper, or he probably smiles more. He's been a really good move ever since meeting with All Might. Mario's also not stupid. He knows not to tell him about that quirk. Because really, that wasn't him using One for All. That was him just using a straight strength. But this does raise a problem that we'll get to in a second. Because I only just realized this at this moment. But we'll get to it in a second. So even though he still tests Midoriya doesn't use his quirk because he doesn't want to ruin the room and just damage any of his All Mights. And he even says this. Like, I see. My quirk is pretty difficult to control. I usually have to use my amplifier. It's like, very well. Use your amplifier. Well, this is my muter. It's not really my amplifier, and you didn't bring your gear. It's like, no, wait. Then use your amplifier. Try to take this within my hand in the next 3 minutes. And Midoriya is just like, all right, fine. He literally starts boop 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 pot shotting everything with sound, and then he basically just does the lightest version of like a shout he can. Just bro, and Nai realizes he did it. Wait, he said he wasn't going to hurt my own. No, he did the smallest shot he could, and he almost gets it, and then time opposite. I must admit, that's impressive, Midoriya. I can see why. And he looks like, I can see why All Might had an interest in him. All right, fine. I'll accept you. And so him and Mirio go on patrol. Obviously, they run into Eri and an Overhaul, and they have to let Overhaul go, obviously. And so it's a scenario like that where, okay, we got to go rescue her, and so they go to rescue her. Okay. Here's something that until this moment I actually forgot to consider. Mirio gets hit with that quirk erasing bullet. So the question becomes, because he also probably be using One for All at that point too, not just his permeation quirk. So when he lands a shot on Overhaul, he might be putting him near in the ground to begin with. But it's not Overhaul who shot him with the bullet. That's the problem. At least if I remember correctly, he didn't shoot him. That was one of his henchmen. And he's going to be aiming for Eri, and he's not going to let Eri get shot. So does it erase both permeation and One for All? Or does maybe because One for All is a different type of quirk, because there's sentience in One for All. And so the vestiges might say, all right, he's going to lose his quirk, but he's still got us. If we can just fight back the effect, we can at least keep One for All here. That's possible. But, I mean, because when you have multiple quirks, getting hit by the quirk erasing bullet it's questionable how that would work when you have multiple quirks. So what happens if a Nomu gets hit by these things? They have multiple quirks. Does it erase all the quirks? One of the quirks? If I'm going to be a betting man, and I do play cards a lot, I would say it probably only focuses on one quirk factor at a time. It's not designed to handle a being with multiple quirk factors. So Mirio probably still gets hit by the bullet and loses permeation. But he gains One for All. Well, he doesn't get One for All, but different scenario here, he knows Eri's about to get hit, and that's when Black Whip activates, because he's reaching for Eri to grab something. And so he kind of pauses momentarily in his head there. Bancho comes out. It's about time. We've been waiting for you, kid. You definitely got potential to be the best there ever was. It's like, what's going on? Look, I'm trying to save it. That's the point. I get it, but don't worry. We're kind of time slows down a little bit in here. All you need to know is this: our quirk factor, this. My quirk's top notch. And so Mirio just essentially uses Black Whip to wrap around Eri. And even though it hurts him to use it at first, just like Midoriya, the bullet doesn't get through the Black Whip, so just he's able to protect her. Eri, I got you. That's like, give her back, make me. And then that's when Midoriya comes in. Midoriya, it's like, Mirio, don't worry, I'm here too. We're not letting you hurt Eri. It's like, you get away from her. It's like, you first. It's like, I will. At first, it's like, I will not be stopped by the lights of it. But Midoriya keeps going, and like the flesh starts to peel up. And, you know, he breaks apart. Overhaul's still like, ugh, I just have to touch him. Mira's like, you're not hurting her ever again. Smash! And Miriam's just like, no, screw it. I don't care if my bones break on this one. Goes like just 100%, just boom! Puts him in the floor. Just boom! By the way, Mirio is probably smart enough to know how to activate and skilled enough to know how to access full cowling by this point. He's using full cowling. He's not using just one for all. But still just boom! And like he just tries to get up. Just, it's like, and Midori's just like, stay down! And so Mirio and Deku save Eri. They save the day. Great, wonderful, yay. Gentle, but let's end this off actually on the, and he doesn't actually lose his permeation quirk because that probably would be where Black Whip activates for him. And Midori even asks, what was that about that extra, like the energy quirk? I thought your quirk was permeation. Yeah, it's a, and he has to make up an excuse, like, it's a kind of a side effect of my permeation. My quirk's still evolving, so it's like, oh, okay, cool. Because Midori probably would buy it. But that leads us to Gentle Criminal. So this is kind of tough because he doesn't have the physicality of One for All in this. He can't readily chase after him like he did in the original. He's probably got his amplifier on though, so he can kind of shoot his quirk out a little bit more effectively. He doesn't have, and because he's probably wearing like his support items a little bit that May had made for him. So he kind of blasts himself back using, basically he can use his subwoofers almost like a launch jettison pad. So he can kind of, it's like, what? And Gentle maybe does like the whole rubber thing, or yeah, rubber. I mean, elasticity air, and Midori can't get through it initially, but I think he could probably shatter it eventually if he hits the right frequency. The problem for him is that Midori's quirk just is dangerous in a long-term fight because your ears only take so much damage for you to just burst, and your body can literally just seize up and you can pass out from just the sheer amount of volume that's coming towards you. So I think what would ultimately happen is in a physical fight, Midori is getting thrashed around, but every time he lands a shot on Gentle and La Brava, it is hurting both of them. Eventually, though, he just kind of focuses in and just boom, and just pot shots and just takes a couple shots and puts Gentle down before La Brava is able to, and he just destroys La Brava's computer, just poof, before they're able to, ruin the festival. But that also means the question of how's the festival going? I mean, Class 1A, Shinso, is he able to use his, like, say, capture bandages, capture rope, whatever it's called, to help in the performance? Is Midoriya's sound a basic quirk any good? I don't know, but I think they're able to still dance around and all that. So that's the end of part 4. Mirio is going to be a pretty beast individual because we don't see Mirio a lot in the series until he gets his quirk back. And even then, like without it, I mean, we know he's going to be more the focal point for One for All, or All for One down the road, and Shigaraki, not Midoriya. Should also note in that fight with think words here. All Might, the rematch with All Might, would he have figured out that he gave it to Mirio, the quirk, or would he have thought Izuku Midoriya? Honestly, I think there's enough to information available to them to think it's Midoriya, not Mirio. So, because Mirio is very much a background player a lot of time. He's just kind of focusing, training, getting as strong as he can with One for All before he's ready to actually face All for One and Shigaraki. So I think it's actually plausible that they believe Midoriya, because All Might did have his eye on Midoriya for a while, so he was kind of giving him special treatment for a little bit. And Midoriya is still kind of prominent throughout a lot of the story. He's kind of there at important events. So when he yells at Izuku Midoriya, huh? He's the child you get One for All to, isn't he? And All Might instead is like, you're right, I should have reprimanded him for coming here. And he still says that, but he doesn't say he actually gave Midoriya One for All. It's like, I will not let you hurt anyone, my successor or otherwise. Like he alludes, he basically doesn't tell him he didn't give it to Midoriya, but he also doesn't say he did. Basically, he leaves it up in the air a little bit. Or he can only kind of say, "You're a fool, one for all." Or sorry, well, all for one. And so what? And so all for one maybe starts to think, if it wasn't Izuku Midoriya, then who was it? He was able to hide it from me even after all this time. You still got some tricks up your sleeve, All Might. So that's where that plot point is currently lying right now. Next time we're going to basically be leading into the paramilitary invasion. I think not. Is it paramilitary? Anyway, that for the hospital war arc thing, where Shigaraki's almost complete but not. Plus, we got the joint training next week as well. Or actually, is it this week? I think this week's the week of What If. Yes, this week is the week of What If. So on Thursday, we'll be talking about it. Until then, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.